Have you ever wondered what the Bible says about the zodiac and horoscopes? This question has piqued the curiosity of many, sparking a fascinating dialogue between the realms of astrology and Christianity. Astrology, the study of how celestial bodies influence our lives, and Christianity, a faith based on the teachings of Jesus Christ, may seem worlds apart. Yet, the ancient texts of the Bible do make references to the stars, constellations, and even the zodiac. Our journey today is to explore these references and comprehend their significance. Are they mere metaphors, or do they hold a deeper, more spiritual meaning? And most importantly, how does Christianity view the practice of astrology, which has been an integral part of various cultures since time immemorial? We embark on this exploration not to pass judgment or to sway beliefs, but to foster understanding and stimulate thought. Knowledge, after all, is the key to broadening our perspectives. So fasten your seatbelts and get ready for an enlightening journey. As you watch this video, if you find it helpful in any way, please like it and subscribe to our channel. Before we begin, it is important to understand what astrology is. So let's dive right in. Astrology is an ancient practice that studies the influences of celestial bodies on human life. It's a belief system that suggests there's a relationship between the position of the stars and planets at the time of our birth and our character and destiny. Quite fascinating, right? Astrology originated from ancient civilizations, with the Babylonians playing a significant role in its development. They introduced the concept of the zodiac wheel, a celestial map divided into 12 segments. Each segment represents a unique zodiac sign tied to specific dates within the year. These signs are Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, Leo, Virgo, Libra, Scorpio, Sagittarius, Capricorn, Aquarius, and Pisces. Now you might be wondering, how is astrology used today? Well, it's primarily employed through horoscopes. A horoscope is a forecast of a person's future, typically including a delineation of character and circumstances based on the relative positions of the stars and planets at the time of that person's birth. When you read your horoscope in a magazine or online, the predictions are based on the zodiac sign that the sun was in at your time of birth. It's important to note that while some people find astrology insightful, others regard it as mere entertainment. Some use it as a guide for making decisions about their future, while others simply enjoy the personality descriptions associated with their zodiac signs. So astrology is a complex practice with a rich history, but how does it relate to Christianity? Let's find out. The Bible, in various instances, makes reference to the stars and the heavens. This ancient text, revered by billions, does not shy away from mentioning the celestial bodies that have captivated the human imagination since time immemorial. The book of Genesis, for instance, tells us of the creation of the stars on the fourth day. It says, "And God made two great lights, the greater light to rule the day, and the lesser light to rule the night. He made the stars also." Here, the stars are presented not as divine entities, but as creations of God serving a purpose in the natural order of the world. In the book of Job, one of the oldest books in the Bible, there's a reference to constellations. It says, "Canst thou bind the sweet influences of Pleiades, or loose the bands of Orion?" This rhetorical question, posed by God to Job, emphasizes his omnipotence and the inability of humans to control or influence celestial bodies. Now let's take a look at the book of Isaiah, where it states, "Let your astrologers come forward, those stargazers who make predictions month by month. Let them save you from what is coming upon you." Here, the Bible clearly warns against relying on astrology for salvation or guidance, reinforcing that only God can provide true salvation. In the book of Deuteronomy, there's a stern warning against worshipping celestial bodies. It says, "Unless thou lift up thine eyes unto heaven, and when thou seest the sun and the moon and the stars, even all the host of heaven, shouldest be driven to worship them and serve them." This passage cautions against the dangers of idolatry, highlighting that worship should be directed towards God alone. The Bible also recounts the story of Daniel, a man of God who was able to interpret dreams through divine revelation, in stark contrast to the astrologers of the time who relied on celestial observations and divinations. This story further emphasizes the Bible's stance against the reliance on astrology in place of God's guidance. So even though the Bible mentions celestial bodies, it warns against worshipping them. The stars, the sun, the moon, and the constellations are all part of the grand design of the universe, but they are not to be worshipped or relied upon for guidance or salvation. That role, as per the Bible, is reserved for the divine. The Bible's stance on astrology is not as straightforward as one might think. Let's delve into this a bit more. In the Old Testament, there are verses in the books of Deuteronomy and Isaiah that caution against astrology. It's important to understand that these texts present a specific viewpoint, one that suggests that reliance on astrology could lead to idolatry. In Deuteronomy, there's a verse that warns the Israelites not to be drawn into the ways of the nations who look to the heavens for guidance, who interpret omens and who read the stars. The verse strongly advises against these practices, and it's one of the reasons many Christians today are wary of astrology. In Isaiah, there's a verse that challenges the astrologers of Babylon. It's a rather sarcastic verse where the prophet Isaiah tells these astrologers to stand up and save themselves with their knowledge of the heavens. The verse goes on to say that these stargazers won't be able to save themselves from what is coming. It's a stark warning and a clear indication that the Bible does not support the reliance on astrology for guidance or salvation. The Bible, in essence, views astrology as a potential path to idolatry. This is because astrology places the focus on the creation, the stars, the planets, the constellations, rather than the Creator. It's easy to see how this could lead to worshipping the creation and not the Creator. This is not aligned with Christian beliefs, which emphasize the worship of God alone. It's also worth mentioning that the Bible encourages reliance on God for guidance and wisdom. Proverbs, for example, tells us that the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. The Bible repeatedly encourages us to seek God's wisdom, not the wisdom of the stars. However, it's crucial to remember that not all Christians interpret these verses in the same way. Some may see them as a total prohibition against astrology, while others may see them as a warning against relying too heavily on astrology or using it in a way that leads to worshipping the stars instead of God. As we can see, the Bible does not support the practice of astrology. It's a complex topic and one that continues to spark discussion and debate among Christians today. There is one particular story in the Bible that contrasts the power of God with the claims of astrologers. This is the story of Daniel, a man of great faith and wisdom. In the Old Testament, Daniel was a young man when he was taken captive to Babylon. Despite his circumstances, Daniel remained faithful to God and refused to adopt the pagan practices of his captors, including astrology. His steadfast faith and reliance on God's wisdom soon caught the attention of King Nebuchadnezzar. One night, the king had a troubling dream that none of his astrologers or wise men could interpret. Frustrated and desperate, Nebuchadnezzar ordered the execution of all the wise men in Babylon. When Daniel heard of the king's decree, he asked for some time to interpret the dream. He spent the night in prayer, seeking God's wisdom. God, in his infinite wisdom and mercy, revealed the dream's meaning to Daniel. The next day, Daniel was brought before the king. With God's wisdom, Daniel not only recounted the king's dream, which no one else knew, but also provided its interpretation. Astounded by Daniel's accuracy and insight, the king acknowledged that Daniel's God was indeed the God of gods, the Lord of kings, and a revealer of secrets. Daniel's ability to interpret the dream through God's power starkly contrasted with the failure of the king's astrologers. This powerful story of Daniel underscores the Bible's message about astrology. It shows that God's wisdom and power surpass any perceived knowledge or insight gained from the stars. This story further highlights the Bible's stance against astrology. In conclusion, the relationship between astrology and Christianity is a complex one. We've journeyed through the fascinating realms of astrology and astronomy, noting their distinct differences. Astrology, the study of how celestial bodies influence human life, has been practiced by many ancient civilizations, including the Babylonians, who created the zodiac wheel divided into 12 segments. On the other hand, astronomy is the scientific observation of the universe, a discipline that doesn't seek to decipher our destinies from the stars. We then delved into the Bible, exploring its various mentions of astrology, constellations, and stars. Interestingly, these celestial bodies are often associated with significant events and symbols. However, the Bible also issues stern warnings against worshipping them, suggesting a negative view of astrology. We further examined the Bible's stance on astrology, finding that it is not aligned with Christian beliefs. Deuteronomy and Isaiah, among other books, caution against astrology, viewing it as potentially leading to idolatry. The Bible encourages us to seek wisdom and guidance from God rather than the stars. Lastly, we recounted the story of Daniel, an Old Testament figure who, through God's power, could interpret dreams, a stark contrast to the failure of astrologers. This tale serves as a potent reminder that divine wisdom and intervention surpass any knowledge we might glean from the stars. In essence, while the Bible acknowledges the existence of astrology, it does not support its practice, urging us instead to turn our gazes from the heavens to God. We've only scratched the surface of this topic, and there's plenty more to explore. We encourage you to leave a comment below if you found this video useful. Also, don't forget to watch the next video on your screen. Share your experience as a Christian, and let's continue this conversation.